For all my spooky girlies out there, this is a PSA. If you have any Moldavite in your house, it may be eating you alive.
Huh?
Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jesse Lyon, a licensed counselor and trauma hypnotherapist who gives you the subconscious meaning behind what you're seeing online. And today, I've got this individual, Ashley Inc., who is telling us about some Moldavite stuff. I'm going to be honest, I like going into these with zero context, and so we're going to watch this together. And as you know, for me, I think the whole crystal thing is a little bit of placebo effect. I don't know, maybe I should do some more research. Let me know where you fall in that spectrum in the comments below. But we're going to learn about Moldavite and some spooky, scary story time. Okay.
Trend that went around in like 2021 where everyone was talking about Moldavite and how if you get a piece of Moldavite jewelry, it cleanses your life of all negativity and turns your life upside down and opens the doors for better things to come in your life. Well, I got this email from this self-proclaimed...
It's kind of a wild claim. That sounds... Cleanse yourself from all negativity? Okay. What is Moldavite? Moldavite is a type of green tektite, a naturally occurring glass formed from terrestrial stalactites. Terrestrial stalactites? Wikipedia, come on, help me out here. Forest green, olive green. I mean, it's very pretty. It's very pretty. I like that. I like that. I think it's a meteorite, no? First introduced to the scientific public in 1786. Interesting. Okay. Formed by a meteorite impact in southern Germany that occurred about 15 million years ago. It is a type of tektite. Tektite's a gravel-sized body composed of black, green, brown, and gray natural glass from terrestrial debris. Okay, so it's terrestrial debris. This is from outer space. Material ejected from impact crater, including Moldavite, which was strewn across parts of Germany. So it's a big rock. Okay, so this is some asteroid type of stuff. Okay. Prehistoric people in the Czech Republic and Austria make tools, and also the witch community makes jewelry out of it. Got it. Back to the story.
Proclaimed witch who also owns a crystal shop, and she said that Moldavite actually is not what it seems. It's not this quirky little crystal. It's actually a beacon, and the people who first started this trend were not healers. They were not spiritually awakened. They were hungry. Maybe Witch Talk can weigh in on this, but this one...
I mean, I suggest pizza or cheeseburger personally. I wouldn't eat rocks, but to each their own.
Woman said that she owned...
Actually, if you eat rocks, it's called pica, right? Oh, and define pica. Pica psychology. P-I-C-A. Pica is an eating disorder in which a person eats things not usually considered food. So if you find yourself eating rocks and you're hungry, you might want to consult with your physician or your mental health counselor. That is not normal. It's called pica.
owns this crystal shop, right? And in 2021, like early 2022,
okay,
every single influencer and people who were on TikTok were coming in her shop asking for Moldavite. And she said she used to wear it too until she started noticing this strange pattern with it and figured out what actually happened. Her crystal shop has a TikTok, and I asked her if she wanted me to tag it, but she said no. Like, she does not want to get dragged because people are definitely going to disagree with her, especially people who bought into this. So she said just to call her Stevie because she likes Fleetwood Mac. So Stevie said when she started wearing Moldavite, it was because she knew of it as this crystal. It was a beacon to invite entities or spirits or whatever you want to call it to come into your life for a specific reason. For her, it was positivity and success. But when all these people started coming to her shop asking for Moldavite, hearing that it cleanses your life of negativity, that it aligns you with your true path, she was very confused because she was very...
This feels like the typical like witchy TikTok thing is like we are how long into this? A minute and 13 seconds, and all she's done is repeated the same things that she's always repeated. Man, I wish I was a better content creator in this way, because if only I could repeat the same thing in creative ways for a minute and a half, I would get more watch time. But hopefully we'll get to the actual thing here, okay? A little bit of a pet peeve being on social media so long. Let's continue.
Because she was very clear that unless you set a specific intention with it, you're kind of just opening the door for whatever to come in. So she started looking up these...
I think that's psychologically true, by the way. Like, you can't just be open. Like, have you heard of the Big 5 factor model? Big 5 factor of personality. There's 5 factors of personality. Ocean, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism. And it's very interesting to see the way that these like show up in a person, and they're not just all good for no reason. you want a balance of them. Like openness to experience is a good thing. It has some indicators, but if you're too open, it can be bad. Or like if you have high openness or high neuroticism as well, that can be very, very no good, right? You can often see they talk about the dark triad, right? And so when they talk about the dark triad, it comes from the big five. It's like narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. And so it's like comes from this idea of neuroticism in personality. And so anyways, all that I'm saying is just being open for the sake of being open psychologically is a bad idea. You have to have that filter. And that's the way that human beings work, right? We have a conscious mind that filters, is this bullshit? And currently the role that I'm playing in your life as we watch this ridiculous video, but I do agree with her on this point. You can't just be open to everything. That's a bad way to live your life.
Videos, and she said she noticed the same thing in all of them, which is that none of these people told you how Moldavite works. They just tell you that it works. She said Moldavite is not just a high vibrational stone, it's a signal flare. It's a glowing invitation for things that feed off of high vibrations. So when all of these people were coming in saying that their intention was to cleanse their life of negativity, they were just inviting negativity. I know this concept from like manifestation, right? Whatever you focus on grows. So when these people were saying, I want to cleanse my life of negativity, all these entities or things that are feeding off of them are hearing is negativity. And they're
wow. Okay. I told you I didn't watch this video. I'm actually really surprised. There's something in depression called rumination, and rumination psychology. Rumination in psychology is a cognitive process characterized by repetitive, intrusive, and persistent thoughts about negative experiences, events, and emotions. And there's a lot of talk in the psychological community right now because one of the problems that a bad therapist will run into is they will unintentionally exacerbate and encourage rumination, right? You come into your therapist, you talk about how depressing your life is, you tell them about the depression, and the job of the therapist is to then take that and help you move through it. But a lot of poor therapists who are just like, I just need to hold space for my clients, which I agree with, but that's not all you need to do. We got to go further than that. If all you're doing is holding space for their negativity, what are they focusing on? Negativity. So what's going to grow inside of their life? Negativity. And we know from research that negativity is about 7 times more potent than positivity when it comes to attention, right? So the classic thing that I like to tell people is there was a study done where if they tested this out, like if you were to tell me, hey, Jesse, I hate your eyebrows. They look stupid. You would have to tell me 7 times that you love my eyebrows. They look so perfect and beautiful for me to come back to even and not think that you hate me because of my eyebrows. So 1 negative comment is only canceled out by 7 positive comments. I love your eyebrows today, man. On point, on fleek, as the children would say. That's huge. And so if you're focusing on getting rid of the negativity in your life and that's all you're focusing on, it's not good. There's also a principle, and I tell my clients about this all the time. When you're racing, you don't want to look at the obstacles, right? A bad driver will either racing motorcycles or racing cars. They'll look at the wall, be like, oh, I don't want to hit that wall, or oh, I don't want to hit that car. And whatever you're looking at is where you go towards. And so good racers know, don't look at the obstacles. Look where you want to go. Look where you want to go, because your body and mind will naturally follow the object of your attention. That's a core psychology principle. And so, I thought I was going to disagree with her more. Maybe about the rocks I do. But the principles behind this, I think she's got a great point.
Are coming in. Think of it like this. She said, think about when you're walking through a forest late at night and you're using a flashlight. She said, you can see everything, but what you don't realize is everything else in the forest can see you too. Moldavite is the flashlight. And she said she first noticed something was off when all these people who bought Moldavite started coming back in trying to return it. The same people were then asking her if she had anything for sleep paralysis, for strange figures showing up in their room, for seeing shadow figures. She said one girl complained of having pressure on her chest, like somebody was pushing down on her while she was asleep.
All very common signs of sleep paralysis. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Sleep paralysis has a bunch of things, like you'll hallucinate and see figures, you'll feel pressure on your chest. Sleep paralysis is actually very not dangerous. It's like very safe. The only problem is like it really does mess with your sleep. It'll make you scared to go to sleep and it really disrupts your sleep. But it can happen when things get emotionally intense. And so I don't think the Moldavite is causing sleep paralysis. I would be very floored. If someone could present me that research article, that would be incredible. I don't believe it exists. But if you are doing some things that are really working up and like cultivating negative emotions, you're gonna experience more sleep paralysis. That we do know from research. Big negative emotions, intense negative emotions correlate with greater episodes of sleep paralysis. So that makes sense. But I wouldn't attribute that to the vibrations of the Moldavite. I would attribute that to the vibrations of your neural synapses because you're focusing on emotions.
Another girl claimed that she heard things whispering in her ear at night. Somebody else said that they felt like they had lost entire days from their life, like they were just walking around in a haze and couldn't remember anything. And this pattern continued. She would refund the stone, take it back, and then try to figure out a way to help them.
Have you also heard this? Oh, I got to share this with you. The whole whispering things in your ear. People hearing whispers in their ear as part of borderline personality. Yeah. Between 50% and 90% of patients with BPD report hearing voices that other people do not hear. And here's the study back in 2005. So now here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing, right? Watch this with me. This is why I think the subconscious explains most of everything we see inside the Wiccan or spiritual astral projection meteorite sitting in the ground and now we got vibrations community. Here's why. Because those people who have borderline personality struggle with their identity and they struggle with their attachment, right? This is like some codependency stuff, some attachment trauma. Borderline personality often comes from some deep-seated childhood trauma. Those people have really intense emotions. We already know BPD is more likely to experience sleep paralysis. We already know BPD is more likely to focus on negative emotions. We already know BPD struggles with that sense of self, with that calmness. They are high on the neuroticism, part of the big five personality. And so them hearing voices, again, I don't attribute it to Moldavite. I attribute it to probably undiagnosed borderline personality disorder, which is the type of person who would be attracted to Moldavite, thinking that if I can just attach my persona to this rock will save me, because deep down they have this unexpressed belief that they are not enough to save themselves, which is not true. You can get yourself out of this. You have all the power that you need. You don't need a rock to do it. But if a rock can be your token and remind you to be motivated and focus on the positive and get your life out of the rut that it's in, then I'm all about having a token, right? I've got my own tokens in my life, my own reminders, my own things that I wear to remind me to be confident and strong in myself.
But she noticed something else about all these people that was similar, which is that they all had the same look. They
borderline personality.
were hollow. They were sunken in. Some had lost weight, but it didn't look
because they weren't sleeping? I mean, we know that.
Like they had done it in a healthy way. The light was gone from their eyes. It looked like something had drained them.
You should have seen me after the first 3 months of my son being born. Similar look in my eyes. It wasn't Moldavite, it was pregnancy.
A lot of them said things to her, even if they didn't explain other symptoms they had. They would just say, I feel different, but I can't explain it. She said that's because they were being harvested. Energy vampires are real, and they look like us. They walk among us. And she said the scariest part is that the most advanced among them don't even need to touch you to feed. They just need you to shine. The more spiritually awakened somebody thought they...
We call them in-laws. No. Sometimes there are partners. Sometimes there are bosses. Energy vampires are real. I do believe energy vampires are real. I don't think it's like a spiritual thing. I think it's just like toxic people make you feel... And like, we also know that. We're very social creatures. And so if you're around somebody who's not like psychologically well, not like feeding into you, not like good, like they suck that energy from you. I don't think it's spiritual. I think it's just like the wiring in our brains because we're social creatures. I do agree with that wholeheartedly, though.
They were, the easier they were to drain. And that's why word about this spread so fast. That's why this trend took off, because people weren't just buying into it. They were recruiting others without even knowing it. Stevie said every single time somebody posted about how Moldavite was changing their life and turning their life upside down, they were actually amplifying the signal and calling in more predators. She said she stopped selling it. She stopped wearing it. She said if you have it and you want to get rid of it, bury it underneath salt or obsidian. And she said...
Now we're getting a little weird. Salt or obsidian? I don't know what that's going to do.
After you get rid of it, it's not uncommon for you to hear humming in your ears for a few days or weeks afterward.
Seems like placebo to me. That's very interesting, though. I'd be curious. Let me know in the comments. I am not beyond being wrong, but I think she's wrong.
Depending on how long you wore it. She said if you don't buy it, but you still wear it, just ask yourself, have you felt exhausted for no reason? Have you had strange dreams? Do you feel like something is watching you?
Do you also vape? Are you also smoking? Are you also drinking? Because those will also make you exhausted for no reason.
If the answer is yes to any of these questions, you might not be using it. It might be using you.
And see, that's the thing, right? Is like they give these general sort of symptoms of like, do you feel exhausted for no reason? That could be a million different things. Sure, it could also be the Moldavite, right? But it's like, it's hard to say, like, do you feel tired? It's the Moldavite. Like, okay, that's bad science. That's a bit of a jump there.
I'll be posting more vampire stories in this playlist, so keep them coming.
Well, let me know, chat. What do you think? Is Moldavite for you? Have you used it? Is it ruining your relationships because you have now found yourself stuck in an energy vampire sap suck fest? I hope not, and I hope you can get out of it soon. Maybe bury your partner under salt and obsidian, because that will cleanse their aura. Or, if you have somebody that you don't like, give them a present of Moldavite and like maybe make it like a little desk toy, so that way they put it on their desk, and that way they can have the energy sucked from them. Another piece of advice of toxic psychology from your favorite, Jesse Lyon. I'll see you in the next video.